All right, another totally rewarding chats, and I don't know how many I've done, but I'm on the road from the trailer. That's where we get this kick and backdrop. Paul is that a new backdrop, Paul? Uh,
Same backdrop, and you will never catch me broadcasting from the road,
yeah,
Sean. So I'm
I
glad
know that.
you, on average, we travel a normal amount of time.
Um,
Mm.
no, you travel. You just determined that a Marriott would be camping. So,
Also true.
not to
Also true.
bias it,
We call that
and I'm
glamping.
yeah, yeah. Well, we'll get there, Lee. So glad we have Lee on with us today. How are you?
I'm well, and yourself?
I'm good. I'm only like weirdly, I'm in Louisville, so I'm only 3 hours north of you. I made a giant circle through Nashville, and somehow from Nashville to Louisville, insert joke here at some point, but it's taken me 3 weeks um, to
Are you
get.
lost?
Yeah,
Just one
yeah. I know.
interstate.
I know.
55.
It's
Just
one
come back
interstate,
this way.
and my son lives basically off 65, basically in between the Gulch and Music Row. So literally, I could have got on the highway and driven to. I'm off
You're
65
avoiding
up here.
him. Got it.
Yeah,
Noted.
yeah.
Got it.
Um, so we don't mess things up, Lee. Give us your background, and kind of what you're up to today.
Yeah. So Lee Cates Jr., based here in Nashville, as Sean mentioned, 65, 24, I-40, all come here. So there's multiple
Yeah.
ways that you can get back to the center of gravity, or also known as Music City. I've spent a little bit over 18 years in the Tennessee Army National Guard, supporting both Counter Drug Task Force and HR and other cool, crazy things. In my spare time, which is really my day job, I'm I'm a director of enterprise technology and strategy and transformation. Some folks may call me a technology anthropologist. I love change, how change impacts culture, how culture impacts the dollar and stakeholder and shareholder value. And yeah, that's, oh, I'm a podcaster. I kind of do that in my spare
Yeah.
time as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like Paul and I, a side hustle, side hustle.
Side
Um, yeah.
moonlighting is what they call it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, is that like that's a retro term? That makes it sound cooler though.
Yeah.
Before we jump in and kind of turn you loose on technology anthropologist. For those that don't know, I'm not very educated. That is a lot of syllables in 2 words for me. Like, um,
Okay.
I got a speed round for you.
Okay, let's do it.
Um, Coffee or tea?
Definitely coffee. But like tea is a very close like runner up. Yeah. I
Oh,
mean,
that
right
might be
now,
the first.
I'm
We've
enjoying.
usually had so okay. Yeah, I don't
Usually
even know
there's
what to do the answer.
passion. Usually there's
Yeah.
passion. That's sort of like a
Just depends on the amount of caffeine I need. That's
Oh,
really the
okay.
determining factor.
Best vacation place you've ever been to? You suggest
Mm,
others should go.
Belize. We love Belize. We
Oh,
started going there 5 or 6 years ago. We ultimately ended up purchasing property there. So we spent a lot of time there. We love the people. We love the culture. Most Belizeans speak more than two languages. Some of them three and four. We love to do deep sea fishing. So Belize, San Pedro Island, or
that's putting your
Amagisti.
money where your mouth is too. Like I'm not gonna lie, and not like, yeah, you should go. Like you literally bought a place.
Yeah.
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 Uh-huh.
We're in it when we're in it. Okay. We're present when
Yeah.
we're present.
So this is the important one because I mean we joked about a little bit as we were before I hit live. So you have a weekend away. To be fair, we're now framing it. Your significant other is doing something else, so they're not part of this equation. Would you rather go to a posh resort away or roughing it in the woods?
Neither.
Well,
I mean, my significant other is not with me when I'm at a drill weekend playing in the field. So that's like just going on a field training exercise. A posh vacation away feels a little lonely when I actually like my other, my other half, or what I lovingly call my manager, the person who controls my life.
management is
Uh,
what I call it. Yes, management.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So I would rather just stay local and go fishing.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
fishing. I
Okay.
feel like is closer to Team Sean though. Like just to put that out there, like you are you're in nature. You are touching other living beasts that aren't human. Like there are things happening that don't fit sort of the posh.
It's an
So I'm gonna.
interesting question, Paul. Have you ever been fishing?
I have. I can bait a hook. I don't enjoy it, but I have.
Okay.
You don't enjoy is it due to a lack of patience or a lack of enjoying the exercise?
No, it's mostly the thought of sitting still with my thoughts is
Mm.
actually like a frightening thought.
It's not the lack of exercise either, Paul. No.
Hey, I can exercise with the best of them. I just
Yeah.
need people around when it's
Yeah.
happening, right?
Okay.
Noted.
So next year in April, the Total Rewards Conference for World at Work is in Nashville. So I figured we'd ask the best place in Nashville to go, especially if it's off Broadway. And by off Broadway, for those that haven't been to Nashville, as it came out of my mouth, not like off Broadway in New York, but Broadway is the main drag. So do you have a place that you point people to in Nashville?
For food, for drinks, or for not remembering the past? Which one?
And any and all, I guess.
So
That's
a
great.
good breakfast place obviously is the Pancake Pantry. There's also Sun Diner. I really like them. Typically, when people come into Nashville, I take people there, and we have a
Sundiner's
good
still
time.
there. I thought TC
Yeah.
got rid of Sundiner. They're getting rid
No.
of Sundiner, I thought, for Post Malone's or something. Oh, maybe
No,
not.
just
That was the
we're
plan.
just
All
there over
right.
CMA
I do
weekends.
love the Sundiner. I'm not gonna lie. That's a good one.
Yeah. So for family dining, there's always Monell's. Okay, if you want the kind of southern country types of situation. If you're into alcohol, okay, any bar will serve you, and we believe in that, and we will give you live music. Okay,
And we
Li-
believe in that.
okay, we believe
Yeah.
in that. It's a very, it's. I mean, Jack Daniels, George Dickel. We believe in our
Well,
whiskeys.
Thursday night next year, I have to add you to the group. I don't know if I can rent out the place by buying all the seats that night, but Fox and Lock, south of town, Leaper's Fork is one of my favorite places on Thursday nights. Open mic. That's one of my favorite play. Meeting however many sides type of country place. Open mic night in Nashville, as
Yeah,
you can imagine, it's great
and there's
music.
the 1940s.
Yeah, when it was Puckett's or whatever it was before. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
great. And then, are you a crunchy or creamy peanut butter person?
Okay, textures, gentlemen, textures. It is no. Okay, if I had to pick, it would be crunchy. It's still the texture of the peanut
Oh, so
butter.
you're like a no peanut butter.
I mean, I will do it if I must. It's great for certain, health benefits. But if I could avoid it altogether,
Hmm.
I
Okay.
wouldn't be upset
We
about
That's
it.
the first. I won't lie. I think that's the first. I just avoid it. I have to avoid it. So Paul's got allergies in the house. And then we've had people who are mostly non-Americans who are like, I don't even know. You can't buy it here. But it's very divisive. You're the first person who's been like, actually, I'll just take a hard pass on peanut butter.
Yeah.
If I
Yeah,
have other options.
texture. Now, I like, walnuts and almonds, etc. So that portion, that's the good portion.
Just
But
not in
the
butter form.
just mm.
Right.
Okay.
Don't smush it up for me.
Don't
Yeah.
Don't treat me like I'm a baby. Keep it whole.
Yeah, yeah, we can avoid
Maybe
that.
that's why I like the creamy. Yeah, I'm a child. Um, so
There's help for
thanks.
you yet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so when you look at your background and you see all the things you've spoken about, I actually thought it'd be cool to just open up with um, what are the kind of best practices you're seeing for departments now? You do a lot of transformation work, and so I'd
Yeah.
assume the goal is you're trying to transform companies into being a best practice or leading edge type of company. What are some of the best practices you're seeing companies want to put in place right now?
So a couple of things. One, I have done a lot of implementations, transformations, optimizations, modernizations, whatever zation you want to put out there. I don't, however, though, subscribe to there being always a best practice. I do think that there is a leading practice for a particular vertical and those sorts of things, but the best practice assumes typically that your organization has the same competency and dollars and capacity as the other organization. And it isn't always the case. So, a hospital in New York may have very different needs from a business process perspective than a hospital in Austin, Texas, right? Where the geography is much broader. You may have more locations where in New York it's more congested. So, as a result of that, you need to do things a little bit differently, as well as thinking about like commuting and so forth and so on. That said, things that organizations I think need to be doing or are doing, what I'm seeing, one is investing very heavily in the competency of their people. Technology alone is not transformation. I literally wrote a book that said it's titled that. Okay.
Hmm.
So having a more expensive car will not get you there in many cases much faster. I like to use the analogy of a BMW and an IKEA. Nothing against either one. We love them both, but they both have four wheels. They both have a steering wheel. They both have, seats, right? But the quality of that drive is significantly different. And how you go over bumps, how you experience growth, how your people are able to learn and use the technology is significantly different. Depending on the culture and the competency of your organization, IKEA may be perfect. Maybe your people really thrive on simple. They need something that gets them from point A to point B. Maybe your organization is significantly more complex. As a result, you need more complexity, that BMW, where you need a engineer to work on it for you, but it is going to perform and grow with you as you grow. But it starts with the people.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great analogy. I use it a lot actually when people talk about if you could buy in your case a BMW or a Toyota Corolla is what I usually use. And most people, if you said which one would you just grab if everything else set aside. A lot of people would grab the BMW or Mercedes, whatever it is. But Toyota Corolla is the number one selling car on the planet. And value for purpose for whatever, to the point you made, Lee, is like and it's not probably the number one dream car of people on the planet either. But it is the number one selling car. And so because of the practicality and lining up all those things you just spoke about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
actually, let me just tell you, since you brought up Toyota, we can bring them into this. Toyota, if you're listening to this, please sponsor Sean's show, Sean and Paul. Okay, sponsor them immediately. But when I started dating, I actually wanted a Toyota. Oh my gosh, what Camry? Okay, the Camry. So I'm glad you
Yeah.
brought Toyota into this. I drive a Land Rover now, but I didn't win that battle. So yeah.
Well, the total
Now I'm
comp tours,
curious.
the truck involved in the total comp tours, we're out for 7 weeks, is a Tacoma. So
There you go.
I'd never, what the irony of that is? I've used that analogy probably 20 times over the past couple weeks and did not put together the fact that I use the Corolla in my analogy in tow with a Tacoma.
Yeah.
So
Now,
Branding.
now
yeah.
I'm curious. I'm curious though, Lee. Do you find that people know which they want? Right. So that's one thing. Like, I know that
Yeah.
I would, if you gave me access to the car dealer row that's a few miles from me, I'm probably going to skip over the Kia dealer until maybe I end up going back to it because I realize I can't afford a BMW, right? Like, so I guess I appreciate your point. I think it's right. Like, you got to know what's sort of fit for what's right for your culture. But do you find organizations know that, or do they have to meander and discover it a little bit?
There's some discovery, and I think I do this talk that basically says that technology is just a mirror of your organization's culture. And so, if you're not careful, if you go out there and you get that, Toyota, and you really have, a BMW type of culture, they will feel underserved. Okay. So I think to your point, Paul, some organizations have really good pulse on what their organization needs, why they need that thing, where they're going in the next 1 year, 2 year, five
Yep.
years, mergers, acquisitions, divestitures, those type of things also play a huge part. What data will we need to bring in? What data will we want to push out? And I've done a lot of M&As in my career, but it does mean that your HRIS, your ERP, your HRIT, your business leaders have to deeply understand where you are today and where you are planning to go in the future.
Yeah. And
But do
what
you
I'm
find
hearing
that
from you
difficult?
is,
Like, do you find that difficult? Because I think maybe that's where you were going, Paul, because everyone says, nobody says, hey, come join Acme Company. We have a low to moderate performance culture, and want to have marginally okay results,
But
right?
those two things are not equal.
Well, but my point being, like, everyone, when you sit down and say what do you want to be when you grow up and what culture do you want to have, everyone, like, they all kind of say the same thing. How do you get companies to realize, like, hey, let me walk you through this. You're not actually a Land Rover culture. You're a Tacoma culture, or you're like what is that? Like, how do you get them to
Yeah.
actually look in the mirror and be honest about where they are? Because it is, I think people, they take it personally for a lot of times for good reasons. We want to be a high performance, good, nice culture, trusting culture, but are you?
You know what? And I'm going to answer the question, but I also tend to use this in some of my chats. If everyone was a high performer, high performance would be the standard. As a result, it wouldn't be high performing. So even in our
Yeah.
organizations and in the diversity of companies, we need organizations who just do the thing. Just do the thing. They're not trying to be anything else other than the thing that they already are, and they do that thing really, really, like really, really well. In my experience, I've had very few organizations that didn't have especially when we got into a, non-recorded conversation and the shades were down, leaders tend to know like what type of organization they have and good leaders tend to understand should they be playing someplace else or is the place that they're playing exactly where they should. They're filling a void for something very specific. I remember. Do you remember? Since we're on cars, do you remember when that one company tried to do business with Mercedes? I won't say who they were. That didn't work out very well. That Chrysler Mercedes
Yeah.
situation wasn't the best
Yeah.
situation, right? And I personally think it's because they wanted to be so many different things that it confused the market, but it also began to confuse themselves. And then you would look and you would buy, what was it, that car? I had a friend who purchased a Infinity car and it had a Mercedes engine inside of it.
Oh, I was going to
Okay.
go with Yugo, but that was more my speed. Um,
Well, that's one. I mean, so
that's
I
one.
think, organizations who are mature in their leadership and understanding, even if they're not mature in size, what we would typically
Mm,
think of size, those leaders tend to know like this is not what's for us. If Paylocity is your jam, go for it. If Bamboo HR is your jam, go for it. If it's Rippling, if it's Workday, if it's UKG, if it's whatever it is, do the thing. And I don't know that, you know, do the thing that fits what your organization actually needs, not just the thing that has, the shiny,
yeah.
wheels and fancy, dashboards. If you can't use them,
Yeah.
what good are they?
Do you see
Well, and
companies getting hung up on that? Because like the point that I
Yes.
caught from you is, the whole ranking system is always interesting, right? We want everyone in the top right nine box. That's everyone we want. And I'm like, as a manager, God help me if every one of my people are a top right nine box. Like that's a miserable existence for me
And you get
and
nothing done.
probably for them.
You get nothing
Um,
done.
yeah. So, but that's what they all want, right? Or so they say they want, right? We want those people. Have you seen companies kind of go back through and by job family or by department say, like, actually, the difference between a high performer and a moderate performer in this one, I actually would prefer a moderate performer that stays a while than, a high performer that, is in then out, then in then out.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you a really great analogy here. Um, a sergeant in the Army is very different than a sergeant in the Air Force, which is very different than a sergeant in the Marine Corps. We're all under the Department of War now, used to be formerly Department of Defense. But that E5 or that E6 tasks and responsibilities and scope is very different by that department of, right? Department of the Army, Department of the Marine Corps, Department of whatever, right? Department of the Air Force. So it's very, very different, even though the rank is the same. I see the
Right.
same thing that's happening in civilian organizations as well, where if you have healthcare workers, let's say RNs, LPNs, those folks, those nurses, what is a high performing nurse, especially at the LPN going to RN or the RN going to NP? It's very different than what I need from a high performing HRS resource. And how we rank and structure those people, especially in like healthcare, is also very different.
Yeah. I do think, Sean, to your point, I come at this always from the compensation perspective because that's what I do, right? That's my client base. But I've seen more people being willing to pick favorites, for lack of a better word, right? Like we understand we need to be really competitive in this part of my workforce. I understand I can be sort of middle of the road here. And maybe I'm okay with a little bit of attrition over here because at the end of the day, nothing's going to break, right?
Nothing is
Like I'm
gonna
seeing
break.
more
Yes.
willingness to pick that. Whereas when I grew up in comp, like you picked a choice. We're going to be a great payer, we're going to be middle of the road, or we can't
Yeah.
afford it. Now it's more segmented, and I think that's thoughtful. I think that's wise because I don't need the same thing everywhere.
Yeah.
Um, right. But I think the wisdom to know how to pick that, or that's why I
Mhm.
led with the question, like, do people really know who they are? Um, I just find and I'm curious your perspectively, like everybody's rethinking that now, and they probably should be, right? Like, look,
Yeah.
I chose a particular HCM system 3 times in my operating career, same one. It has a smile-ish in the logo. And I don't know if I'd pick it today if I was at those same companies because the needs of those companies are different. But there's a little bit of like, would I have known that if I was still in house? Would I look myself in the mirror and go, you know what? I don't need that innovation mindset anymore. I just need something that keeps track of people. Like that's a hard
Yeah.
realization for folks to make. That's why I was curious. Like, is that a discovery process to really land there?
Yeah, but also for many folks, implementations tend to be career defining, especially when they're at the top and especially when they're in the middle.
Mm,
There's an in-between space there, but that middle person who has been at the organization or who's been in the workforce for, let's say, 7 or 8 years, they're a manager, senior manager. This is their one shot to actually implement, a
mm,
system from start to finish. If this is successful, they're going to be able to kind of ride the coattail of the success and, make associate director or director or whatever
yeah.
else in the coming years. And I've seen that happen a ton of times. And then at the top, this may be their last implementation. And maybe they're wanting this implementation to be a part of their legacy. And so, whatever implementation that is, however well it goes or doesn't go, I think can be career defining and legacy, defining for people. So that also, I tend to see that kind of coming into play. One of the things that I do, especially in my portion of work, is not just implementing the system or leading people down that journey, but I like to find out very quickly what is their chief motivator and what is it that you want from this implementation. If I can find that out, if I can better understand that, that'll help me drive the conversations, but also know when to back off as a consultant.
How do you
Yeah.
tie? So I know we talked about kind of it's the people, but the kind of secondary piece to all this, Lee, was where do you see HR tech moving ahead? But can you bridge to that too, though, on how someone selects like where do you think technology is going? And then there's this kind of like, well, I need to do an implementation now. I can't wait for 3 years to pick what might be coming. Like, how are you seeing companies navigate that best? And then to your point on the implementations, like, where do you see those go well? And then where do you see them, go off the rails?
Yeah. So on the first one, on the selection pieces of doing it now versus later, tends to be on some cases, if it's a public organization, board urgency. Maybe there's been some type of discovery, meaning there was a gap in their legacy system that didn't cover something. It also could be loss of trust in the legacy
Mm,
system or loss of trust in resources at that legacy systems company. Most people don't realize that
mm,
the consultants that are interfacing, representing the brand of that ERP or technology, that's who the customer sees. If their experience with those folks is bad, or if those consultants don't have, the knowledge, skills, and abilities to deliver great consulting acumen with, technical competency, people believe that the system can't do a thing that maybe it always could. So now they're leaving the system or they're leaving the consultant or that organization because of that experience. Around the urgency, though, most of the times where I'm seeing that come in, especially over the last 2 or 3 years, is there being something around the corner that leadership knows,
mm,
or that leadership has a desire, to achieve, and that transparency in the system or needing to start fresh. I, some years ago, and I can say this now that that company is no longer here. Merger acquisition, but I worked for an organization, a friend of mine. We flew back and forth to Portland, Oregon for over a year supporting a company who was purchased by a company in Houston, Texas. when the acquisition was announced, everyone at the losing organization and the HRS team quit. They all quit, like within days of each other. Okay. Um, the gaining organization needed folks who could support and sustain the system, even in the absence of those people. What we later learned of why they didn't even keep the system was because there were so many configuration changes that they lost all trust in it. We also then discovered that some people had given themselves um, compensation increases
Ooh.
because not only were they in control of the HRS system, but they also were able to bypass business processes that would have gone to payroll. So now you're trying to distance yourself completely from that system, what you have now discovered in the system. Like it's just a solid breakup. So hopefully that answered. There was
Eesh.
another part to that question that you asked. I'm having temporary amnesia, so judge me, Sean, please.
I would never judge you. Paul, I probably would. Um, yeah, as we go. Um, what, how much, like, so there's so much tech out there now and they're coming at you. So it was interesting to me, Lee, that you said both from a, lack of churn or people staying with tech to evaluating tech. How much is the personality, or the person they're working with or the trial? Like, is that still,
Oh
and
God,
Paul,
yeah.
obviously you can weigh in a lot more. I have not a lot of say in this, because I'm at a vendor. So obviously I always think, we're cool wherever I go. But like it, you know, what is the gap? Like, how much tech do you think? And I know you can't put a percentage on it, but how much gap can you cover by having a very good sales team or, account management team versus the software?
I
Mm.
mean, listen, salespeople sell. Okay. I've met some extraordinary sales folks who I thought, like, I think they just sold me stuff I came here with, And so salespeople sell. The technology still has to perform. And in today's age where you have all the chats and the Claudes and the this and then that, people can get a better understanding quickly of if the technology can perform. So it doesn't matter how great to me your salesperson is, if the technology cannot meet the expectations of our business, of our culture, of our business requirements, then it is a no-go, no matter how wonderful and lovely the salesperson is. We can stay friends on LinkedIn. I just don't need to buy this product from you.
But how much of a gap? So we're in a so I'll take
Yeah.
compensation data as a pretty good space of where we will talk about why our data is better than someone else's data. And if you heard two people talk about it, you would think there's days of daylight, between the
Yeah.
two. And realistically, there's not. And I say that, and would I argue our data is better than some? Sure. Does it matter at some point? So between price and relationship, almost a commodity-ish type basis, you still see the relationship as a huge piece.
Yeah,
Uh,
because who is going to be in the trenches with me when this stuff breaks
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
there's an issue, right? Do I like the person on the other end of this phone? And do I trust that they have my best interests or the best interest of my organization at heart? One of the things, Sean, to your point around like this company versus that company, I did this exercise, which you've probably seen it on, in the words of my sister, the ticks and the talks or
yeah.
Instagrams. Okay. But you take multiple things, you remove the name and you say, which one is the best one? All right. So remove the name and say, okay, this is what this offers. Which one do you like?
Yeah.
And then you put the name back on, and you'll see where people tend to sway related to those things. And
Totally.
generally based off of something they heard about that company or about
Mhm.
someone at that company.
Yeah.
You know?
I think the other side of it too, Sean, that's where I thought you were going with your question, which was like the personality of the buyer too, right?
Mhm.
So,
Mm.
because they're, you know, does a Mercedes do exactly the same thing as a Kia? Maybe not. But they do a lot of the things the same. And,
Yeah.
what's different about cars though is I can jump into a car I don't drive and I can pretty much drive it. With HR technology, whether it's broad HCM or ComTech, that's not true.
But it
Right.
should
So
be.
like it should I don't oh, I love that.
Uh,
Absolutely. Like it shouldn't be as hard to jump in and do it. But there is no doubt that like I mean Workday is in the word search behind me for a reason, right? Like Like, I'm a Workday guy. If you don't know Workday, you don't show up and run Workday that day. Like, there's a language. No offense to the comp tech vendors, but if you don't know how to price a job in their system, you
Mm-hmm.
aren't doing that today because it's not as easy as it should be. Should it be easier? Absolutely. But I think the personality of the buyer comes into play here too, because because they're not light and day different, to your point, Sean, your ability to know how to make it work matters quite a bit, right? How do I get the most out of
Yes.
largely undifferentiated technology is real. So the buyer's personality and experience matter a lot too.
Yeah. I mean, Paul, let me ask you this question. I feel like are you Chicago-ish
How did
area?
you know? How'd you know?
Okay. All right. So you all have a grocery store there. Do you have Kroger there or Walmart?
We
Of
have
course.
Walmart and
But where isn't Walmart?
yeah, we don't have Kroger's, but we have a subsidiary of Kroger's
Is
here.
it like which subsidiary?
Is Mariano's, I believe, is the
Okay.
subsidiary of Kroger.
So
Yeah.
let me ask you this question. Did you go to the Walmart self-checkout training?
Nope.
Okay.
I
I
should
did.
have.
Okay. They didn't have it.
Okay.
Okay. There was
Yeah.
no training. There were no quick reference guides. There
Yep.
was no
You just
major
figure it out.
announcement of come to our customer self checkout training so that you can learn how to process this transaction. It didn't happen. Right. So, my opinion, especially from the employee self service side of the house, is
Mm.
that the ERPs or the HRS system or the Fin, system should be at least easy enough that a person can execute a basic transaction and go through it without needing an act of Congress. At Walmart, if you put something in your bag too fast, the machine is going to yell at you and call you a thief. But there's also going to send somebody there to help you. The same things happen in some of the best HRS systems that I've seen.
Mm.
The same things happen. They have notifications, they have alerts, they have things that keep you within the guardrails. But processing a transaction should be easy enough that a reasonable person with reasonable background can do it without needing an act of Congress. The difference, though, comes in on what happens when I fall into a trap, or what happens if a business process goes off the rail. That is that personality. Who do I call? And it can't be
Yeah.
Ghostbusters. It has to be an
Yeah.
actual consultant or a technologist who deeply understands the system and has a welcoming personality and can help me.
Like when my non-alcoholic beer requires my ID, that wasn't trained. Yeah, like that's always a bummer. That was at Kroger. Yeah,
Kroger,
uh,
do better. Okay.
I know.
But please sponsor. Totally
Yeah.
rewarding that if you want. Okay.
Um, so do you have one, if people are evaluating tech or what they should do next with tech, do you have one kind of starting point for them?
Yes.
Kind of the one takeaway?
Yes. Think before you
You,
act. Simple.
yeah,
I feel like
Think
I tell my preteen the same thing every day.
think before
yeah,
you act. Because the decision that you make when you swipe that pen is one that the organization has to live with, regardless if it's ERPs, if it's collaborative work management solutions like Monday.com or Smartsheet, regardless if it's a ITAM or ITSM, asset management, service management solution. Someone else who's not in that room has to live with your decision for months or years on end. So make
yeah,
sure that you have thought before you acted. All the time, people want you asked me, oh, I came back to me. You asked me this question like a determining factor of success or failure earlier. Now I came back. The number one thing I tend to see people want to take off of the SOW is change management. Okay. They're like, oh, our people, they got it. Do they? You take it
yeah,
off of the list and you don't have good change management, you don't have good transformation pieces, you don't have a really good communication strategy. If you take it off the list, you're going to spend the next 9 months paying for that after you go
mhm,
live, where you're still trying to get people to get on the bandwagon of a decision that you've made.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting. We several of the sessions have been around how you evaluate things in today's technology, and I quote, which I've quote a couple different places, because I don't use those long words. I'm going to quote Cheshire Cat. If you don't know where you're going, all roads will lead you there, Lee. And it's kind of to your point. I
Like
tell people the right
I-65, you're right.
solution is the right solution is the right solution, and by that meaning, like sometimes the right solution isn't the cool, the fun, the fancy, but the right adjective is the right solution. because I think now in today's, especially with the AI stuff, they're like, look at all this stuff it has. And to
Mhm.
your point, it's kind of like, yeah, but does it do any of the stuff you need it to do? It does a lot of cool stuff, sure, but does it do
Yep.
the cool stuff you need it to do to be successful? So I think that's great advice, actually.
Mm.
You know, and I had not put it that way. I will probably steal that
Feel
from or
free.
plagiarize or whatever, borrow.
Do,
All
do,
right.
Um,
you have permission, so you don't have to steal anything. All we want to do, like you said, all roads will get you there. And immediately I thought, like I-65, we can get you back to Nashville too. Okay, if you
in
need.
3 hours. You mean to tell me to go from Nashville to Louisville doesn't involve like Dallas, Tulsa, Omaha, Chicago, Milwaukee, Detroit?
Not at all. Not,
Okay,
but you
oh,
are out there with Mammoth Cave. Is that out there? Yeah.
caves are up here. Yeah, I've been. So we lived here. One of the reasons it worked this way, I won't lie, Lee, is I worked for Mercer here for a couple of
Oh,
years. My wife calls it the stint in Louisville. I'll leave it at that. She was not going to visit me while I was here. She did not have a good time. Um, but
epic.
a lot of coworkers and stuff. So I wanted to spend one of the weekends here. So it just kind of worked
Very
out. But
cool.
mathematically, it does look funny on the calendar when you know that like they're right next to each other realistically.
Yeah.
It would have been one of the shorter trips between cities as well, and I'm just avoided it.
Yeah.
Um, but no, I think that's great advice. Like the part that I would steal, just to kind of come back to that, would be the fact that someone else, take it seriously. Someone else is living with this. It is very hard to start those
Yeah.
projects, and that is a really good kind of gut check. Would you be okay handing this over and feel confident in your decision for all the right reasons? Is really a good way to put it.
Yeah. That's great.
The thing we usually wrap with, Lee, and you have a unique perspective on this, and I didn't tell you this was
Oh
coming.
gosh.
So, um, if you could automagically, which is a highly technical term,
Of course.
automagically fix any one thing in HR, what would you fix?
The mindset that HR folks don't have to be technology folks. That
Uh,
those days are long gone. Long gone. Um, I have been pushing, I'll call it my agenda. Okay. Okay, my agenda. I've been pushing my agenda to help educate traditional HR folks more and more around HR technology and technology, period. The number of phenomenal practitioners that I meet who are great at what they do, but can I say this word? Maybe. They suck at technology. Can I? Okay, I don't know if I can
You
say
have
that.
not listened, Lee. I'm just going to pause there. You have not listened to me out in public if you think the word
It
suck is
wasn't on
anywhere near
recording.
the
Okay, it
Sean,
worst.
wasn't on recording.
Sean, Sean has a bad habit of rhyming with that
Yeah,
in
Yeah,
public
actually,
yeah.
so
settings. So,
So do I.
yeah. So actually, that's completely fine, Lee.
Cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I like all words. Okay, they're created equally. So that are phenomenal, HR practitioners, but are not good at technology, and not just HR technology. I'm like, hey,
mm,
let's put this deck together. Well, I really don't know where to go. I don't know how to get into Slide Master. Okay, let's work on that.
uh,
I don't really understand SharePoint. Well, let's work on that. I do a ton of what I would call Lee offline
uh,
time, where I'm just chatting with people, or just show your screen. Well, I'm a little nervous. Show your freaking screen. Let's look
Yeah.
at this together. Like, I'm not judging you. And if I am, I'm not going to say it out loud. I'm going to keep it inside like we do. We do that in the South. Okay. We don't say it out
Yeah.
loud. We just keep it on the
Bless your heart.
insides.
yeah.
We bless your hearts. But the
Yeah.
end goal is that you are
Yeah.
better, and that you can go back to work tomorrow or the next day or whatever, and you feel more equipped, more empowered to do the things and have these conversations. But the myth that you don't have to be a technologist, or you don't have to really understand it because you're in HR. No, understand it. Get all in their business. Okay.
I think the interesting thing part of that is the opposite but similar to, and I say that from the standpoint of comp people in particular, their value to the organization in the past was like, what a badass I was at Excel. And Paul has talked about it. He like
Yeah. Yeah.
matriculated through his career based on, being the Excel master. And I
Yep.
think kind of why I say it's opposite is I think you're going to have to be a technologist, but that's not what your value is going to be. It's going to become table stakes as opposed to value differentiation over a period of time. So I'm all with you, like get in and share and like, kind of like, kind of almost those kindergarten vibes. Let's just learn together and figure stuff out. thing because that is table stakes now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if I'll say this, and I don't know when this is gonna air, but if that's you, okay, you don't have to put up a Batman signal, you don't have to send up like a smoke signal, but you can DM me, okay? You can ping me, you can slide into the DMs and say, "Lee, that's me. Um, can we do a little coffee chat?" And I mean, look, Sean, I did 45, 50 coffee chats last year
Yeah.
of like I used to have a link on my LinkedIn that says like let's do a virtual coffee. I took
Mm.
it off for now because the next 45 days are super busy in my real life.
Yep.
But learning, being exposed to new things is the only way that we grow. And
I
longer
have
are
it.
the
Same thing.
days.
I do a couple a week. I actually, Lee, I'm with you. I think it's, and what's interesting is a lot of times, first of all, you dated yourself by saying slide into the DMs. There's only a certain age that'll say that now, bro.
I mean,
But I'm with you because a lot of times they'll get on to be like, I have questions for you. Show me something you said. But when they're like, we've been doing it this way, I saw this. You're like, oh crap, that's also cool. Um, and
yeah,
so like, it's not the assumption that it's a one-way conversation. And
Mm.
I usually say, Lee, like usually humans, but I say companies too, are highly statistically predictable, but all amazingly individually unique. And
yeah.
so, like, I learn something every time I'm on one of those calls, be like, oh my gosh, that situation is like, how do you deal with this, this, and this? And so I swear they call to ask me questions or set up a 15 or 30-minute thing. And pretty soon I'm like, this is the coolest thing ever. Like, I'm learning at the same time. So I say that because I'm with you. Like, reach out to people. You'd be surprised. I think in HR in particular, the HR practitioners undervalue their experience and knowledge more than almost any other department that's out there. They're like, oh, I don't know that much. You're like, bullshit. Have you seen HR? Like,
Yeah, but they're the
that's
self-service people, right?
yeah.
That's and most people who are in those realms typically are not in it for because they want, self-serving reasons, et cetera. Like they want to take care of people. They want to make sure that people are treated fairly. They want to give people the best opportunity. They want to help grow and, blah, 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 the organization, but from the inside out. So as a result of that, they tend to be extremely humble or extremely shy about reaching out to say, I don't know this thing. And
Mm.
typically the folks who are shy about reaching out is because in their roles, in their real life, they're expected to know or have all the answers. So saying that they don't have the
Mm,
answer means that they have to shed something. I last year I wrote a LinkedIn post on this. I stopped telling people that I'm an expert. Okay, in anything. Okay, I'm a practitioner, but I feel like if a doctor can go to school for 8 years and still be able to say they're practicing, so am I. It just so happens, it just so happens that I know a little bit more about this
mm,
particular thing, but I'm no expert. I just have more
yeah.
experience trying stuff out
Yeah.
and breaking it in public than other people do.
That was a great anthropological
Yeah.
rationalization of the people's thing because I think I haven't put it that way, Lee, because
Well, there are
I have noticed I'm
counter-actual
not from
approaches.
practice.
Yeah.
I've never been I've consulted, which is maybe worse than being a practitioner because here, do this and then leave, um, and been on the software side, but they really know so much. And I haven't
Mm.
heard it put that way to some of the rationalization of why they just won't admit like they know so much.
Yeah.
But if the bar is knowing, and I would argue same thing with payroll. Like, you know, you're average at payroll if you get it right 100% of the time, like, which is mind
Mm.
blowing, right? Like, there's a reason I would never be in payroll. I can't do anything right part of the time, and so to get it right 100% of the time is ridiculous.
Well, do they really? I mean, there's rounding rules, there's earnings deductions, taxes,
And
reciprocity,
this
there's
is why they have an attitude problem, Lee. This is
yeah, I
why they
mean,
feel bad about themselves.
but
Um,
do you really? Like, it's
yeah,
okay if you don't. You mispaid somebody. It's just us. We're just talking. We're among friends. Let's look at it together. That's how I approach it.
yeah. This has been great. I will say Lee is great. Follow his podcast. There's tons of good
Lean
stuff
is
on
great.
there.
That's
I'm
a
I'm
freaking
reading,
lie, Sean. I'm not
huh?
great. I'm not
Huh?
great. I'm
I
not
didn't say
making
you were an expert. I just said it was great to I'll say it's great to listen to, but I didn't say you were an expert. Um, so take a listen. There's really good stuff on there. So I'm a convert, so I appreciate it. Easy to find online. And then for those of us that are going to World at Work next year, we have to figure out. I got to figure out how to get you at the conference next year because it's
There we go.
late April, right in Nashville. So we got to make that happen. And then when I'm down in town, but appreciate it so much. Yeah, it's great having a different perspective, and hearing it from not just from more the HR side. And I get how often do I get to say the word anthropological? Not very.
Oh gosh. Well, can
You've
I
said it
leave you
3
with a
times
quote?
now. Yeah.
You've said
You
it
can
3 times.
leave.
I was gonna say that.
I
Yeah.
know I'm getting better as I go. I couldn't say it the first 2 times, and then I felt like I had to say it 3 more times because I couldn't get it.
Yeah.
I'm practicing.
Yeah. Leave us
Oh
with a
my.
quote, Lee. Leave us with a
Uh,
quote.
Yeah.
in the words of Ursula Burns, who was the CEO of Xerox, impatience is a virtue. You can
Oh,
act now. You can take control of your career now. You can learn more now. You can do more now. There's more at our fingertips than there has ever been before. It is up to us to path our own way and to do more with it. So be impatient about your knowledge journey. Be impatient about learning more around the technology around you. Be impatient about learning more about the society and environment around you. So yeah, Ursula Burns, impatience is a virtue.
I'm gonna leave it with that. I cannot top that. Can you, Paul?
That's right. No, I'm just glad I'm virtuous for once. Like my
Oh,
impatience can be
awesome. Thanks all. We'll post all the links as well.
thank you,
See
Lee.
y'all.
Thanks, Lee.
Bye.